Well, you might be wondering, why such different experiences? Shouldn't spiritual awakening be this beautiful, blissful journey for everyone? That's exactly what I used to think too. But here's the thing. Spiritual awakening is less about the destination and more about the journey itself. It's like renovating an old house. Some rooms just need a fresh coat of paint, while others require completely tearing down walls and rebuilding from scratch. We're all carrying different spiritual baggage from our past experiences, beliefs, and karmic patterns. Some of us have been unconsciously preparing for this awakening for years through meditation, self-reflection, or simply being open to spiritual growth. Others might be caught completely off guard when their twin flame connection triggers an unexpected spiritual avalanche. What makes this topic so fascinating is that it touches on the very essence of our human experience. We're not just talking about feeling good or bad here. We're diving into the deep end of personal transformation, soul evolution, and the sometimes messy process of becoming who we truly are. So, whether you're currently floating on cloud 9 or feeling like you're trudging through spiritual mud, know that you're exactly where you need to be. Ready to understand why? Let's explore the fascinating reasons behind these diverse awakening experiences together. Ever wonder why some people seem to carry a heavier spiritual load? It's like trying to run a marathon with a backpack full of rocks versus jogging with just your water bottle. Your soul's accumulated karma plays a huge role in how your awakening unfolds. Those experiencing more challenges often have deeper karmic patterns to resolve. Think of it as spiritual spring cleaning on steroids. The more stuff you've gathered over lifetimes, the more intense the clearing process becomes. But here's the silver lining. The harder the journey, the more profound the transformation. At the very core of our existence lies a profound and universal truth. We are all seeking happiness. Like sailors drawn to a distant lighthouse through stormy seas, every human being, consciously or unconsciously, orients their life journey toward this singular pursuit. It's fascinating how this simple truth reveals itself in even the most contradictory of human behaviors. Even when we claim to embrace unhappiness, we do so because of our distorted understanding of what happiness truly is. Think of happiness like water taken different forms. Sometimes it appears as a raging river of excitement, other times as a still pond of contentment, and occasionally as the morning dew of quiet satisfaction. Yet we often fall into what I call the conditional happiness trap, much like a person standing in the rain with an umbrella, complaining about getting wet while refusing to acknowledge that they're the ones holding the umbrella at an angle. We create elaborate conditions for our happiness. I'll be happy when I get that promotion. I'll find peace when my partner changes. Life will be better when the political situation improves. These are the mirages in our personal deserts, always seeming just within reach, but perpetually moving further away as we approach. Consider this profound paradox. We spend our lives pursuing happiness as if it were a distant treasure, while simultaneously carrying it within us like a forgotten locket around our neck. As As the ancient Sufi poet Rumi once wrote, "Why do you stay in prison when the door is so wide open?" The prison he speaks of is our own making, constructed from the bricks of our conditions and mortared with our expectations. This reminds me of a story about a fish who spent its entire life swimming around, asking other sea creatures, "Where can I find this thing called water?" The humor and tragedy of this tale perfectly encapsulates our human condition. We are immersed in the very thing we seek, yet our preoccupation with seeking prevents us from recognizing it. The truth is, happiness isn't a destination, but a way of traveling. It's not the shore we're trying to reach, but the art of sailing itself. When we truly understand this, we begin to see that every moment, whether deemed good or bad by our judging mind, is an opportunity to experience the depth of our being. Even in our struggles, there lies the potential for profound joy, much like how a pearl forms within an oyster, precisely because of the irritant that disturbs its peace. This understanding doesn't mean we should deny our desires for better circumstances or ignore genuine problems in our lives. Rather, it suggests that our fundamental well-being need not be hostage to external conditions. Like the sun that continues to shine above the storms, our capacity for happiness remains constant. It's only our awareness of it that fluctuates. In this realization lies a revolutionary possibility. What if, instead of chasing happiness, we simply stopped running from where we are? What if, like a spinning top finding its center, we could discover that stillness that exists in the very heart of motion? This isn't just philosophical musing. It's a practical invitation to revolutionize our relationship with life itself. The journey toward this understanding is perhaps humanity's greatest adventure, not a physical expedition to distant lands, but an inward exploration of the vast territories of our own consciousness. And perhaps the most beautiful part of this journey is that its destination is not somewhere else. It's right here, in this moment, waiting to be recognized like a familiar face in a crowd. Let's talk about our old friend, the ego. For some folks, letting go of their carefully constructed identity is about as easy as teaching a cat to swim. The stronger your attachment to who you think you are, the more resistance you'll face during awakening. It's like trying to peel off a Band-Aid. Some people rip it off quickly, while others prefer the slow, painful approach. Your ego's grip strength directly influences whether your awakening feels like a gentle awakening or more like being jolted awake by a bucket of ice water. The dual nature of spiritual awakening, both euphoric and challenging, mirrors the profound complexity of human consciousness itself. Like a butterfly emerging from its chrysalis, the process requires a dissolution of old forms before new wings can spread. Consider how a prism splits pure white light into a spectrum of colors. Similarly, spiritual awakening fractures our unified consciousness into its component parts before reintegrating them at a higher level. The initial breaking apart can feel devastating, like watching your carefully constructed identity shatter into pieces. Yet this very shattering creates space for something more authentic to emerge. Just as a seed must crack open and die to give birth to a new plant, the ego must undergo its own form of death for spiritual rebirth to occur. This process can be terrifying for those strongly identified with their mental constructs and belief systems. The mind, sensing its own dissolution, often responds with resistance and fear. The difference between euphoric and difficult awakenings often comes down to karmic ripeness. Like fruit that either falls easily from the branch when ripe or requires force when unripe. Those who have unconsciously prepared through life experiences may find the transition smoother, while those clinging to rigid beliefs face a more turbulent journey. The ultimate revelation of spiritual awakening is the transcendence of all dualities, including the distinction between easy and hard experiences. As one awakens, they begin to see that both the bliss and the challenge are equal expressions of the same underlying reality. The suffering comes not from the awakening itself, but from resistance to what is being revealed. Like learning to walk in zero gravity, adjusting to an awakened perspective requires developing entirely new ways of being. The process isn't about reaching a permanent state of euphoria, but rather about expanding our capacity to embrace all aspects of experience, both light and shadow. This integration can take time as we learn to navigate with new awareness while still functioning in the conventional world. The mystery lies not in why some experiences are harder than others, but in the profound alchemy that transforms our fundamental relationship with existence itself. Through this lens, both the ecstasy and the challenge become sacred instruments of awakening, playing their perfect parts in the cosmic dance of consciousness, coming to know itself. Remember how some students ace their exams without studying while others pull all-nighters. Spiritual awakening works similarly. Those who've already been doing their inner work, meditation, self-reflection, shadow work, often experience a smoother transition. They're like spiritual athletes who've been training for the big race. Meanwhile, those jumping straight from spiritual couch potato to marathon runner might find themselves gasping for air. Previous spiritual practices and life experiences can significantly impact your awakening journey. The profound paradox of spiritual awakening lies in its dual nature, both euphoric and challenging, like a mountain climber suspended between earth and sky. This duality reflects the fundamental journey of consciousness, expanding beyond its familiar confines. Like a person realizing they're in someone else's dream, spiritual awakening reveals that we are not separate individuals, but expressions of a vast consciousness. This understanding can be initially destabilizing. Imagine suddenly realizing that the snake you've been afraid of was actually just a rope all along. The fear dissolves not through effort, but through clear seeing. The path of awakening is less like climbing a ladder and more like remembering how to swim in an infinite ocean. Some find themselves naturally buoyant, while others initially struggle against the currents. The difference lies not in the ocean itself, but in our willingness to trust and surrender. Those who resist the process often experience it as painful, while those who can release their grip on the familiar shore may find themselves carried by a profound sense of peace. The process isn't about achieving something new, but rather about removing the veils that obscure our true nature. As one spiritual teacher observed, The kingdom of God is found first by connecting with who we truly are. This connection reveals that life need not be so serious, and that nothing can truly destroy our inner joy. The ultimate revelation of awakening transcends both the euphoric and the difficult experiences. Just as waves are neither separate from nor identical to the ocean, our individual experiences of awakening, whether blissful or challenging, are expressions of a deeper truth that encompasses and transcends all states. The key lies not in seeking particular experiences, but in recognizing the awareness that witnesses all experiences, unchanged and undisturbed by any of them. This recognition doesn't make the journey easier, but it makes it meaningful. Like a play where we know the ending is assured, we can fully participate in the drama while maintaining a subtle knowing that all is well. The pain and euphoria become like weather patterns in the vast sky of consciousness, neither to be grasped nor rejected, but witnessed with an ever-deepening understanding. Here's something many people overlook. Your support network makes a massive difference. Having understanding friends, family, or a spiritual community can turn your awakening from a lonely trek through the desert into a guided tour with plenty of water stops. Those experiencing more difficulties often lack this crucial support system. It's like trying to assemble IKEA furniture alone versus having someone who's actually read the instructions help you out. The right guidance and support can transform your journey from overwhelming to manageable. Consider how a mountain climber feels halfway up a treacherous peak, caught between the familiar ground below and the unknown summit above. This perfectly captures the spiritual awakener's position, suspended between the material world of ego and the boundless realm of spirit. The gravitational pull of old patterns and beliefs exerts a stronger force than the subtle call of awakening, making descent seem easier than ascent. Yet this very tension creates the conditions for transformation. The process, the spiritual awakening, resembles the opening of a tightly closed flower. Each petal must experience the strain of unfurling before it can reveal its full beauty. When we encounter our deepest fears and traumas during awakening, we're not experiencing new pain, but rather becoming conscious of suffering that was always present beneath the surface. Like a surgeon who must first create a wound to heal what lies beneath, the awakening process often requires moving through discomfort to reach liberation. Each person's awakening unfolds uniquely, like a fingerprint or snowflake pattern. Some may experience it as a gentle dawn, gradually illuminating their consciousness, while others undergo what feels like a spiritual earthquake that shakes their entire foundation of reality. The intensity often correlates with how tightly one clings to existing beliefs and identities. The stronger the grip, the more intense the release must be. Perhaps the most profound aspect is that awakening reveals both everything and nothing simultaneously. It shows us that we are both infinite consciousness and temporary human forms, that we are both completely whole and constantly evolving. This apparent contradiction dissolves in the direct experience of awakening. The process isn't about reaching a permanent state of euphoria. but rather about embracing the full spectrum of human experience with deeper awareness. Like a mirror that remains unchanged regardless of what it reflects, our true nature stays untouched while fully participating in life's ever-changing display. Let's get real for a minute. Social media has created some pretty unrealistic expectations about spiritual awakening. Some people struggle because they're expecting constant bliss and angel choirs, when in reality, it's more like a spiritual renovation project, messy but worth it. Those who approach their awakening with realistic expectations and openness to both the light and shadow aspects often find more joy in the process. It's about embracing the whole journey, not just the Instagram-worthy moments. The profound mystery of spiritual awakening's dual nature, being both euphoric and challenging, lies in the fundamental nature of human consciousness and our relationship with reality itself. The process of spiritual transformation requires a complete dissolution of old patterns before new wings can emerge. Consider how a master sculptor works with marble. They must first break down and chip away at the solid block before the hidden beauty within can emerge. Similarly, spiritual awakening often begins with a breaking down of our crystallized beliefs and identity structures. This dissolution process can feel devastating, like watching the familiar walls of your reality crumble, yet it paradoxically contains within it the seeds of liberation. What makes this process uniquely challenging is that we are simultaneously the observer and the observed, the sculptor and the marble. When we begin to wake up to our true nature, we must face all the ways we have been sleeping, all our attachments, fears, and illusions that we've used to construct our sense of self. Perhaps the deepest mystery lies in how spiritual awakening reveals the ultimate paradox, that what we are seeking is what is seeking. The difficulty or ease of the journey often correlates with our resistance to this fundamental truth. Those who cling tightly to their constructed identity typically experience more turbulence, while those who can surrender more readily may find themselves carried by grace. The process mirrors the natural world, just as a seed must crack open and die to its form before it can grow into a tree. Our spiritual awakening often requires a kind of psychological death before genuine rebirth can occur. This is why the experience can feel like both a crucifixion and a resurrection, a descent into darkness and an ascent into light. You know what's fascinating about spiritual awakening? It's like a fingerprint, completely unique to each person. After diving deep into this topic, I've come to realize that there's no one-size-fits-all approach to spiritual growth. And isn't that actually beautiful? Whether your journey feels like climbing Mount Everest in a snowstorm or floating on a peaceful river, remember this: both experiences are equally valid and meaningful. The challenges you face aren't signs that you're doing something wrong. They're often indicators that you're doing something profoundly right, clearing away layers of conditioning that no longer serve you. Sometimes our most challenging moments in spiritual awakening are precisely what we need for our souls to fully emerge. The resistance, the doubts, the fears, they're all part of the transformational process. Here's what really matters. Your journey is perfectly designed for you. Those experiencing euphoria aren't more spiritually advanced, and those facing challenges aren't doing it wrong. Each path is divinely orchestrated to provide exactly the experiences needed for individual growth and evolution. The key isn't to compare your journey to others or wish for an easier path. It's to embrace your unique process with all its twists and turns. After all, isn't it the challenging climbs that make reaching the summit so much sweeter? And sometimes, those moments of struggle become our greatest teachers, offering insights we couldn't have gained any other way. Remember this: wherever you are on your path, whether you're floating or struggling, you're exactly where you need to be. Your awakening is unfolding perfectly, in its own time, in its own way. And that's not just okay, it's exactly as it should be. Trust the process, trust your journey, and most importantly, trust that the universe knows exactly what it's doing with you. Because in the end, every step, whether challenging or joyful, is leading you home to your truest self. And isn't that what this journey is all about?